Welcome to episode 144 of the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business. I'm Brian Fisher. Are you a business owner or executive searching for practical strategies to grow your company? This podcast series focuses on the various subjects and topics to help you run a successful, profitable business and is targeted to business owners and C-suite executives, but anyone interested in business can benefit. It reflects my 34 years as a business owner and subsequent years as a business mentor and consultant. They're approximately 15 minutes long, so you can listen while commuting. In the previous episode, 143, our guest was Mike Bergsmith, discussing real-world use of AI in business. Today's episode discusses discipline behind sustainable high performance with former fighter pilot Boucousis. Based out of Park City, Utah, Boucousis is the CEO of Afterburner, a global leadership development company that has spent the last 30 years translating elite military execution into practical business frameworks. Get ready for insider strategies that can put your business on the map. Let's welcome Boucousis. Boo, welcome to the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thanks, Brian. Pleasure to be here. Very grateful for the opportunity to meet today.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Boo. Boo, I'm always interested in people's stories. What's your background in becoming the CEO of Afterburner, a global leadership development company that has spent the last 30 years translating elite military execution into practical business frameworks?
Oh, geez, that's going to take the full 15 minutes, so I better be careful. That's a big question, Brian. I mean, today I own and run a business that brings the world of the fighter pilot into the business community. It's the 30th anniversary of the business, and I acquired it 3 years ago from the original founder. And the reason I acquired it was I was kind of in retirement. I'd been a business founder for 20 years. I was in the humanitarian sector, then I shifted into property development, then I shifted into publishing. And now it's all about leadership development, coaching, helping companies build executable strategies, AI native businesses. And it's, the company is a commercial realization of my life because I was a fighter pilot for 11 years. I joined straight from high school. I didn't do very well at high school. Repeated 12th grade. My marks were barely any better the second time round. But I wanted to be a fighter pilot, since I was a kid, like a little kid, literally as a 5-year-old. And I think a lot of us have those dreams when we're little and don't get there. But I was very determined, and despite having chronic ADHD and a severe medical condition that ended up getting me discharged, I powered through and managed to go through the program and pop out as a fighter pilot when I was 22, and flew in the Air Force, as a fighter pilot for the next 8 years before being forced into business. So business has been my jam for the last 21 years.
Well, that's a great story, Boo. This episode's topic is discipline behind sustainable high performance. What is the discipline behind sustainable high performance?
3 things: be intentional, be good at the basics, and embrace reflection. This word high performance has been hijacked. I think what we call high performance this day is kind of just one level above mediocre. True high performance is, I would say, absent in most businesses. I have the honor of working with around 100 businesses a year and really getting an insight into how they operate. And what we're seeing today, especially, this has always been an issue, but it's really amplified with, everyone calls it artificial intelligence. I call it actual intelligence because that's what it is. It's actually intelligent. So what we're seeing is, for a business, we're being compressed. Everything's happening faster. Expectations are higher. We're being overwhelmed with information and capability, and we're battling for a very small amount of human attention span. What's really cool is that's what the fighter pilot mindset and the way that we work was engineered for. 60 years ago, we flipped the switch and we changed. Humanity thinks what they call linear thinking, which is, there's my target, here's where I am, and off I go. Whereas fighter pilots flip the narrative. We start at the end, we start at the target, work backwards, and we embrace something called iterative thinking. to go back to my point about intention, basics, and reflection, that's really what we built as fighter pilots 60 years ago and what we at Afterburner transformed 30 years ago into business. Plan, brief, execute, debrief. So plan is all about setting intention, and instead of goal setting, we call it destination setting. I like to use the story of when you jump on an airliner and you go on vacation, the captain doesn't say, "Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Our goal is to get to Cabo today." It's like, whoa, I want to get there. They use the word destination. So humans understand that destinations are where you must arrive, whereas a goal is something nice to get. Execution is focusing on the basics. So if you do the same thing each and every day, it should become a habit. And when people talk about that word discipline, sometimes they confuse a habit with discipline. So we don't form habits because we think it's a discipline thing. And everyone hates discipline now because I need to be free and do whatever I want to do. And I own my own business because I want freedom. And it's like, well, no, owning your own business is the opposite. You got to earn freedom. So when you earn the freedom by dialing in the basics, having standards, procedures, systems, you embrace the fourth step of what we call our flawless execution method, which is the debrief. And the debrief is very simple. We just ask ourselves at the end of the day, what did I need to achieve today? What happened? Why is there a gap between the two? And what's the first thing I do tomorrow morning to close the gap? And that first thing that you do, more often than not, becomes a habit, a system, a process. So you never have to have the same problem again.
Well, speaking of the debriefing, why is that the most overlooked tool in business?
Because we're too busy going forward. It feels like it's hard work. It feels like it's criticism. It feels like I don't have time to reflect. But really, the learning in life comes from the reflection. Like to engage with the day that you had rather than just leave it behind is very powerful. So there are a lot of human biases. Like humanity is biased towards action. Like that's what we do, the action bias. Like we would rather be busy, even if it's doing the wrong things, than stop and think. And there's a really powerful study that was done on this a few years ago. It's called Just Think. And what they did was they put people in a room one at a time, aged from 18 to 88, and just had them sit there for 6 to 15 minutes. And people didn't like it. And then they put them at home and said, do the same thing on the couch. And they didn't like it. So they brought them back to the room and they put an electric buzzer. And if you hit the buzzer, you got an electric shock. And 65% of men and 28% of women would rather hit a button and get an electric shock than be left with their own thoughts for 6 minutes. So this is what we're fighting with as human beings. So debriefing is the counterintuitive loop where the objective isn't to provide feedback, it's to develop actions to take forward. And that's what's unique about fighter pilot debriefing as opposed to what most people perceive debriefing to be, which is raking yourself over the coals, looking at all the things that went wrong, blaming everyone else. We flip the opposite. It's like pick one thing that you are responsible for and fix it tomorrow.
We're speaking with Boucousis, CEO of Afterburner, a global leadership development company that has spent the last 30 years translating elite military execution into practical business frameworks. Boucousis is a former fighter pilot turned CEO of Afterburner. Boo helps leaders cut through complexity, execute with precision, and perform under pressure without burning out their teams. Under his leadership, Afterburner has worked with over 3,500 organizations and more than 2 million leaders worldwide, including Fortune 500 companies, fast-growing firms, and 2 NFL teams that went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, let's get back to the questions. Boo, how can elite teams maintain clarity and alignment under stress?
It's easier than you think. First of all, clarity requires a point in space and time. It requires that destination. So when you're clear about where you're going, how long it's going to take you, and what arriving looks like, you create clarity. The alignment is the byproduct of clarity. Like the alignment just comes. Like if you've got 10 people and you're all heading towards the same destination, you are aligned by default. We spend a lot of time thinking that alignment is communication, it's engagement, it's all of this fluffy stuff. But really, it's like, all right, team, we're 100% committed to getting to this result by Friday. Tell me what you're going to do to get there. That's as easy as it is. And what I try and encourage is, helping people get out of the to-do list mentality, which is hitting the electric buzzer, and lean into the achieve list mindset, which is instead of writing 20 things to do today, just write down 3 things you want to achieve. When you create that clarity, you're a smart person. You'll figure out what to do. You don't need to write a list. It'll just happen. And you'll feel the urgency that comes with achievement. So that in itself is just a small tweak anyone can make in their day to shift into clarity, alignment, and accelerating getting stuff done.
Boo, what results or lessons learned have you seen with businesses and individuals that have implemented your recommendations?
I've seen a business grow 400% from 10 million to 40 million in a year. The only thing they changed was they set aside 30 minutes each day at the end of the day to debrief everything, their social media campaigns, their website, their logistics, the way they managed and stacked their warehouse. They were a craft beer company. They had over 1,000 beers that they would distribute in gift boxes. And they'd been in business for 10 years to get to 10 million, 1 year to get to 40. So that's my favorite win, not only because it was 400%, but because it also had beer involved in it. And then generally speaking, just the feedback that you get from individuals months later when they learn about it and they say, hey, because that's really powerful. Hey, I'm using that destination stuff. Oh, I really started debriefing. I don't think I've ever in 10 years of doing Afterburner work not been able to get somebody to elevate into a better version of themselves or increase companies' performance. I worked with Fannie Mae to help get their $4 trillion mortgage risk assessment forecasting and tool built. One of the biggest financial programs that was ever built in the world. And so, working with Nike to help them reinvigorate their basketball brand globally. So I think people are just screaming out for something to help them with the overwhelm and burnout right now. I don't think the world suffers from a lack of effort and a lack of good intention, but there is a way to just reduce the noise and overwhelm and increase the amount of impact we make. And step 1 of that is just running through those 4 steps of debriefing. What's the objective? What's my current results? What's the cause of the gap? And what's the action I'm going to take? We call it the ORCA methodology. Very simple. You can do it in 30 seconds, or you can do it in 30 minutes, or you can do it for a whole day. It doesn't matter. But that reflection with intention and where the focus is on action, that is not default human behavior. That is not what business owners do. And that's the key to elevating from overwhelming to impact.
We're speaking with Boucousis, CEO of Afterburner. Boo, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, I'm blessed with a very unique last name. I'm the only one on earth. So if you type Boucousis into AI, into Google, into LinkedIn, you'll find me.
Boo, thank you for joining us today on the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Pleasure.
My sincere thanks to Boo Boucousis for joining us today. Managing the performance and future direction of your company are 2 of the most important things you do as a leader. And I'm here to help you. If you'd like to reach out to me for business mentoring or consulting, help you with a podcast, schedule a speaking engagement, or potentially be a guest, like Boo, please go to bcforg.com. There's a red Contact Us button in the middle of the homepage. These podcasts will be released the first and third Tuesday each month. This podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. In search, type BCF ORG. Be sure to leave a space between BCF and ORG. And I'm looking for this podcast to move from an upper mid-tier podcast to a top-tier podcast. Please leave a positive review, let your friends and colleagues know about it, and don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast. Join us for our next episode, 145, when our guest will be Sarah Kudry, discussing building impactful companies. In business, running a successful, profitable business is the ultimate scorecard. You are never done and can always be better. It tends to be more fun than work, frustrating at times, but can be very rewarding. From BCFORG Corp., I'm Brian Fisher, wishing you the best. Thanks. I was really looking forward to talking with you, Boo. This is really very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing, but what you certainly start to realize with what we do, it's effectively a guaranteed to work system. So what you start to realize is it's just business owners getting in their own way. Like that's what's stopping them from getting to the next level is their own self-limiting behaviors and beliefs.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And then we used to do a debriefing type of thing, a post-mortem. We called it a post-mortem. Yeah, but
Yeah.
same idea because you just want to be better at what you do. And so
Yeah.
if you take a few minutes and just review what you did and what you could have done different and better, then the next time you do that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.